I know you're probably thinking, oh my god, Nayla, where's your clothes? This is the wrong channel. No, it's not the wrong channel because I'm about to tell spooky stories while I get a lymphatic drainage. So I wanted to do this style because these spooky stories are things that these ladies that work at this spot have experienced themselves. They're quite spiritual. Some of them are from Ecuador, and so they've experienced things themselves. And while I was there, they were telling me all these spooky stories, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to share this with these abducted humans. And they say all the time, like, they love talking about spooky things. They love the dark and the mysterious things. Even some of their clients, when they come over, they would like put like, documentaries or things on the TV for them to watch while they get their massages. So the first story is about a lugau. So I guess they have their own version of lugaus, and in Spanish they call them noales. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but this is the first story that the lady who's giving me the lymphatic drainage told me. So pretty much there was this girl, right? She was walking home from school one day and she ran into this cat. And now the cat, they interacted with each other, whatever the case may be. And then she gets home, she, takes off her clothes, blah, blah, blah. She's about to get in the shower. When she leaves her room, she notices the cat. The cat is in her house. So she's like, what the hell? This is the same cat that she saw on the street that she interacted with. So how did the cat get inside her home? What the heck? So she goes in the shower, she comes back out. The cat is standing right there just watching her. Now, there was something distinctive about this cat. This cat had very human-looking eyes. Like, this cat just looked freaking human, y'all. So she was like freaked out by this cat. So then she goes in her room, gets dressed, and then when her parents get home, when her mom gets home, she tells her mom, she's like, yo, mom, I saw this cat on the street, and somehow the cat must have followed me home because the cat made it inside the house. The mom went looking for the cat. They didn't find the cat that night. So the mom's like, I wouldn't worry about it. Probably got in through one of the windows, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't worry about it. So boom. The following day, she wakes up, she goes to school, comes back, and she finds the cat in the house again. The cat would just continuously come back to the house. So at this point, the girl is growing worried, right? Because like this cat is always either in her bedroom or in the bathroom or in the shower, just waiting for her, just to watch her. And again, the human eye thing was always freaking her out. And her mom didn't seem as concerned, but she was concerned. Like, she knew that something was off, considering the nightmares and everything else that she was having, in the house. So finally, she decides, she tells her mom that she wants to go see a santero. Santero is basically like a spiritual healer. And again, sorry if I butchered the name, but they went to a santero, and pretty much the santero, she said once they got there, the first thing that she noticed about the santero was the eyes. She said that it was the exact same eyes that the cat that she kept finding in her house had. She said it was a very distinctive stare. Like you saw the guy. Like, it was the same eyes. She said immediately upon seeing him, like, she just felt chills down her spine. She felt like she just knew, like, I don't know, I feel like he's the cat. I'm like, what? So she's just telling me all of this, right? She's like, I feel like he's the cat. So then, they go on anyway. She's still a teenager, so there's only so much that she can do. They're already here, so the guy gives them some herbs, and they do some sort of cleansing, and he's like, don't worry, the cat will not be coming back. So they go back home, and the first night, the cat did not come back. Boom. Second night, she comes out of the shower, goes into her room to get dressed, cat is there. And the cat continuously just kept coming back. Like, the cat just would not leave. At this point, she goes to her mom and she's like, yo, mom, I'm pretty sure that the santero is the cat. Like, I don't know, but I can't put my finger on it, but they have the same eyes. Like, it's the same guy. Like, I can't put my finger on it. The mom is like, all right, yeah, you really tripping out right now. Like, it's not the santero. Like, it's not him. Like, it's probably just, blah, blah, blah. It's a regular cat. Like, if the cleansing, you feel like it didn't work, it's probably just a regular cat. Whatever. But she was convinced that it was the santero. So now she has a full-on plan. Now she is going to catch him. She is going to catch him full red-handed, full-blooded. Wait, what's the term? She was going to catch him red-handed. So one day she decides after school she's going to go see him, because she was also always rebellious. So she goes after school to go talk to the santero. And she gets there and she's asking him about skinwalkers. She's like, do you think skinwalkers exist? Because I think that this cat might be a skinwalker. Because after I did everything that you told me to do, the cleanse, and I took all the herbs, the cat keeps coming back. If anything, the cat is back here more frequent. So now the Sendero is telling her, like, there's no such thing as Lugaus or skinwalkers. Like, this guy is full on gaslighting her, telling her those things do not exist. You can lay, easy at night. It's probably just a random cat for real. Like, you're safe. So then she left there feeling even more suspicious about the guy, because she's just like, no, like, I know it's him. Like, I know it's him. Oh, y'all, I was lit off the mimosas when she was telling me this story yesterday. So keep in mind, this is a very important part of the story. Around that time in Mexico, so this story took place in Mexico. So around that time, there were a lot of children going missing. A lot of children were getting just randomly just snatched off of the streets. Like, they were just randomly just going missing. And nobody could trace down the kidnapper. Like, who is kidnapping all these kids? Like, what is going on? So, the mom was also very cautious about, her, coming straight home. So the cat had been the only thing that, she was interacting with, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So now fast forward to, her asking this guy if skinwalkers exist. This guy's telling her that they do not exist. She goes back home, and now she knows, like, it's him. Like, this guy is the cat. Now she comes up with a plan to catch him. So she decides that because this cat is always watching her while she's either changing in her bedroom or in the shower, she decided to create a cage. So she goes to another spiritual healer who basically taught her what to do to, like, enchant a cage, to, like, get an animal that she believes is like a skinwalker, caged in. So she does whatever it is, and she puts she hit the cage, and she goes take a shower as usual, comes back to her room, starts changing, and of course the cat is there. So she starts dancing, like, really seductively and stuff, and the cat looks like, he's, like, in a trance, like, he's just staring, blah, blah, blah. So she tricks the cat into the cage, and then she closes the cage, and now the cat was stuck. So now that the cat was stuck, she's like, oh my God, like, what do I do with him? So she goes to everybody else. She goes to her mom. She shows her mom the cat, and she goes to everybody else, and she's telling people in the village. She's just like, y'all, like, I'm pretty sure it's this guy, it's this Sentero that we went to. Like, he gave me this medicine. He gave me these herbs to get rid of the cat. But here's the cat. Like, this cat is not who we think it is. So then everybody's like, okay, well, then let's just go down to the shop right now. They all go down to the shop, and the guy is not there. So through looking around his shop, they discovered that it was indeed people discovered Sendero. That not only was he a shapeshifter, which would shake people to their very core, discovering that these things can possibly be real, but also discovering that he was indeed the town's kidnapper. Wow. Spooky. Because after he was caught, and the village decided to take care of the cat, whatever they chose to do with him, the kidnapping stopped. So it all linked back to him, and that was the end of the story. There was no part 2 or anything. She was just explaining the story to me. Now, before we get into the next story, you're probably like, why are you zoomed in? Girl, look how bloated I was. Like, I started taking these antibiotics, and they really screw up your stomach, okay? I was retaining so much water weight. So if you're retaining water weight and you're in the New York City area, I would definitely trust these ladies to give you a lymphatic drainage, because you will definitely see the difference by the end of this video. All right, let's get into the next set of stories. So the next thing about these ladies, right? So the one who's actually doing the lymphatic drainage on me right now, the one who's giving me the massage, she's from Mexico. And the other lady who does the laser for me, my laser hair removal stuff, she's from Ecuador. And they both have this thing in common. They realize that these massages are incredibly spiritual. They're a lot more spiritual than you think. Which goes into the next thing. Please do not allow anybody out here to just be giving y'all massages, to just be touching up on y'all, because it's very spiritual. Like, there's exchange of energies. Like, these ladies talk about, like, when people come in to get massages all the time. Like, there was this one particular lady who came in, and she was going through terrible stuff with her boyfriend. He was extremely violent. He was abusive. And she came in, and basically, like, they just felt the energy. So they're both, like, empaths, right? So, like, they really feel everything. So they're really feeling this lady. And by the time that, she finished giving her the massage, she had soaked in all of this lady's energy. So where the lady finished and she felt great, she felt amazing, she felt rejuvenated, the one who was giving the massage she was the one who now took in all these problems, all these feelings that she had to then deal with. So she tells me all the time that she cleanses the space all the time. She cleanses herself all the time. So in Ecuador, they do the egg cleanse. So she does that every once in a while when she has to. This is something that both the ladies experience, that they soak up the client's energy. So whatever it is that they're currently going through, they tend to feel it as well, you know, after the massage is done. So that's something to be aware of. Like, energy is real. So the lady who does my laser hair removal, she was telling, which you guys will see later in this video, but she was telling me this story about this time that she went back home to Ecuador and she got incredibly sick. So pretty much, again, like her parents, her grandparents, like they're very spiritually aware. They're very spiritually awakened people. So this one time that she got home, like it all started off with a headache. Like she, you know, she would have like her friends around, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, like, she started like having these headaches. Then from these headaches, it went from headaches to throwing up, like stomach problems, like, and then from there it just progressed and she got really, really, really sick, right? So her grandmother was telling her, okay, you need to pray. You need to, this is spiritual. This isn't normal. I don't think it's because you just came here for vacation and your body is not taking food right. Like, no, that's not it. Like, something is happening here. And she said she thought her grandmother was being ridiculous. She's like, oh my gosh, you're just being superstitious. I'm just sick. So then she was like, nope. The grandmother was very insistent. So the grandmother offered her to do an egg cleanse. And she was like, Grandma, I don't need to do no egg cleansing. Like, please, like, keep that away from me. And plus, she's very spooked out by that type of stuff. So she doesn't necessarily want to, you know, do it. So when her grandmother was like, let me do an egg cleanse on you, she was like, no, I think I'll be fine. I'll fight this off. This is probably just a little sickness. So a few days go by and she's just getting progressively worse. Like, she's just doing bad. Like, she went from being perfectly healthy to like, damn, now she's really on her deathbed. So her grandmother comes into the room and her grandmother's like, are you sure you don't want that egg cleanse? She's like, Grandma, please do what you gotta do, because at this point she is on her deathbed. Like, whatever it is you gotta do, please do it. Her grandmother goes, grabs the eggs, and then rubs the eggs all over her body from head to toe, and then she cracks the egg and puts it in a cup. And she said that the yolk had another yolk on top of it, so it was two yolks and it looked really murky. So then her grandmother interpreted that. And so it was pretty much a friend. One of her friends pretty much was feeding off her energy. This friend basically had the evil eye for her. So I should have asked more questions about the evil eye and what that stands for in Spanish culture. But she was telling me that pretty much like the evil eye is like one of the worst things that you can give to people, because look how sick she became. And if she didn't take her grandmother's advice and did the egg cleanse and noticed the two yolks, and if her grandmother hadn't been spiritually awakened to understand what that meant, she would have never like been able to fight this off. So immediately the grandmother knew what to do. She got a cleanse. She had to take a shower with all these herbs, and she said she was disgusted. She didn't want to do it, but she was literally dying. So anything that her grandmother was doing, she was down for it. So she's just there taking her grandmother was showering her with these herbs or whatever, and she said that she took a nap and she woke up and she felt good as new. Which, by the way, that was her story, the one who walked in. The one who's taking videos of me right now. Now, y'all, there's another lady that works there, and for some reason she has the worst luck when it comes to like these paranormal activities. So basically, the lady, she works at like this other location, right? And one time, pretty much like they they all work at the other location too. So everybody left, and the other lady was left alone to close off the studio, whatever. So she's cleaning up, making sure everything is cool, making sure everything is okay. Everybody left. She's in there by herself. So she goes to turn off the lights, and she's about to walk out. And the doors, all of the doors that were to like, you know, the studios that you walk in, all of the doors just start going crazy. Like, they start opening and closing. Ooh. And I mean like violently, like, y'all, like they are violently opening and shutting. The lights are flickering, things are falling off, and she's just like, what is going on? So she just she finally finds the strength, and she just runs out of that studio. And she just tells everybody what she experienced. You know, obviously some people believed her, some people didn't. But they too would experience some like weird stuff over there. Like, even in like this studio, like sometimes like they don't know if they're experiencing weird stuff or if they're just still paranoid from the other place. Like, Sometimes, like, they could have sworn they turned off the lights, but then they come back and the lights are on. Or they could have sworn they shut a door, and then the following day they come back, the door is open. And so it's like little weird things like that.
I might have ran out of stories that they told me. Again, I was really lit off the mimosas. But I'm just going to read to y'all some submitted stories from now. So if you're here for submitted stories, if you skip 15 minutes through to the submitted stories, if any of y'all comment and let them know, oh, skip 15 minutes for submitted stories, I'm going to be really upset. So don't do that. All right, so the first submitted story, we're going to call this person Shan. The person who submitted the story, we're going to call them Shan. Shan says, hey, love, I'm Shan. I have a spooky story that happened in the Bahamas when I was 15. So I was close. I used to date this guy when I was 15 until I was 25. I was madly in love with him, or so I thought, because of how obsessed I was with him. It wasn't until I graduated high school in 2012 and moved in with the guy in his family home that I realized something was wrong. One day he came home with this beautiful gold bracelet with diamonds all around it. I could tell it was real, so I asked him where did he get this expensive bracelet from, knowing he wasn't working at the time. He said he was working with his homeboy and someone had left it in the car seat of the rental that he was in and it was new, so whatever. She believed him. A lot of people started asking, bro, this is a vintage bracelet. Where did he get that vintage bracelet from? Like, this is old, like, where? So this is a vintage bracelet that this guy had. Like, it's from the 50s, bro. An old woman said, wow, that's very strange. A few months had passed and he would beat her and cheat on her constantly. And on some occasions, she would pop up home and a woman would be naked there. So, wow, she was really getting disrespected. So she said she would pop up home and women would be naked and they would be running out of his room and she would still stay. At times when she didn't have a job, she would sit in his room and don't eat or bathe until he comes home, and she just didn't know why. It was like she was like a zombie at this point. So one day she woke up and said a prayer, then something told her to look in the mirror, and then she heard a voice that said, fight it, it's not you. And then she started crying and said, what's happening to me? Why am I here? And then she snapped back and was in zombie mode again. I would only stay inside, cooking, cleaning, catering to him and his family. Years had passed, and she started visiting her family again because they were worried about her. They weren't seeing her or hearing from her like that, so she, would start popping up and see her family a little bit more often. She said she had run into a female friend of hers, and she invited her over to her house for dinner. Her mom came to her. She went to the bathroom and said, something dark is following you, and it's on you too. I can see it, and then she smiled. She then told her to stop wearing open shoes or slippers. So her friend's mom is pretty much telling her, do not wear slippers or open-toed shoes wherever she is walking for a while for some reason. She says the friend's mom said that her friend gets off of work at midnight, and she will call her and speak to her more about her. So she went home and didn't mention it to her boyfriend or what she didn't mention anything that had been said, to her boyfriend. The next day, she went back to her friend's mom and asked her, what's on her, because she was lost. She didn't have a clue what she was trying to say. She told her friend to go in the sea every 12 days in the tide, turn and wash her coochie with 21 pieces of lemon, and to hold each piece when she comes out of the water and never look back because you wouldn't want to see what's coming off of you, and to throw pieces in the water for them to float away. Can't remember how many days she did it for, but what she can tell me is on the last day of doing this, the sea got rough when she was rubbing the last 2 or 3 pieces down there. It was like the water was alive and had a mind of its own. The water turned her every which way but loose. She was scared as hell. So the last piece was rubbed and she had to stand up. Wow. So mind you, last day she's fighting for her life. She's in the sea, just trying to do her ritual, just trying to rub these lemons in her cooch, which by the way must have burnt. But she's down there doing it, and mind you, she has to keep all the pieces of lemons because when she walks out of the water, she has to throw it back in, right? Now she's in there. The water is very violent on that last day for some reason. So she's getting thrown, like she's being thrown around every which way but loose. So she finally gets up, she walks out of the water, and she gets to shore, and she looks in her hand, and she's supposed to have 21 lemons. And she looks down, she counted, and she only had 20. So she was missing one. She didn't want to look back, so she stepped back a few times with her back still facing the water, and the missing lemon piece was good ways from her floating away. So she walked sideways and got it. She came out the water and threw them in the sea and went inside. Bear in mind, the beach was in her friend's backyard. After that, her and her boyfriend had broke up, and she moved back home with her mom and her siblings. This is when things went a bit crazy in the house. She was sleeping and woke up to go to the restroom one night, and when she had wiped from urinating, a baby centipede with green guts was on the tissue. She was screaming at this point. She closed her eyes and opened it again, and y'all, it was still there. So she said, I wasn't seeing things. Like, this is for real. Like, there's a baby centipede, like, with green guts after I just wiped. What the freak? So she said, I kept that to myself, and she didn't tell anyone. She did not tell anybody. Days went by, and she noticed that when nighttime came, there would be a dark, tall figure standing by her room door, blocking it. She was afraid to leave the room after dark, so she would just be in there until morning. Between the hours of 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., she would hear sounds like what people would play for babies to fall asleep. Nursery rhymes or lullabies coming from some chicken ornaments her mom had left when she moved to the USA. Literally, the chicken ornament is singing lullabies to make her or help her fall asleep. Like, come on, y'all. So the chicken ornaments were sitting in a straw basket on top of the tall clothes stand, and it would be soft sounds, and you could hear them because it's the middle of the night and the house is quiet. So she didn't know who she should confide in, so she asked her homegirl if she would just come over and just sleep by her to help comfort her. So she had told her about what she had experienced, and the girl did agree to come spend a night or two. So it was the middle of the night, and she felt someone shake her real hard to the point where it woke her up. And she said, what happened, Cookie? That's her nickname. She said, shh, listen. So she pointed to the top of the stand where the music was coming from, and she was staring at me with this blank look. She said, bro, I believe you. And then she hugged her and said, let's just go back to bed. Let's just, this has been a long enough night. So I guess in the midst of her explaining this to her friend that, she was experiencing all these weird things in her home, her friend pretty much was kind of brushing it off because it's paranormal. You can choose to believe it or not. And if you don't, you don't. Seems like the friend really didn't believe in it because she did still agree to come spend a night or two. And so to be woken up in the middle of the night because weird stuff is happening, it's kind of like, bro, I told you. I told you this was happening. But at that point, she truly believed her because it's like, yo, what is happening? Why is there music coming from the straw basket? So boom, the friend, basically she ended up having to go back to work, which was on the K, and she ended up sleeping there for a week. And that's when shit got really bad. That's when she started seeing the shadows walking past in the day and in the night. She says she went to take a shower one day and then went to her room to put clothes on afterwards. And while she was drying off, she noticed a stinging sensation down there in her coochie area, and it was hurting really, really bad. So she sat on her bed and looked between her legs and saw the inside of her cooch as if someone had cut her open for surgery. Wow, this is really tragic. Wow. She says she saw her insides and almost fainted because she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She began crying and got her phone to record it. So she played it back and it was real. Her insides were showing, but blood wasn't coming out of it. She called her boyfriend, which was the ex at the time. She said we had made back up after she moved. So after she moved into her house, after she was just getting her life back together, she made up with the ex that she just escaped from. Okay. So she said, we made back up after, I moved in, and he said, come by him so he would check it out. I put on some clothes and a pad, and she drove to him. He was 10 minutes away from the house. When she reached by him, he had this sinister smile or this wicked grin on his face. It was weird. And when she took off her underwear, nothing was there except a small drip of blood. He laughed hysterically and left and went back home. She left and went back home. So days had passed, and she went by his house to chill, but he wasn't home, and his sister was fixing his hair in the front room. And then a strange man had popped up to the front door and was asking for his mom. She wasn't home at the time either. I didn't know anything of it, but she does remember his face. She had this Haitian homegirl that said that he was the biggest obiaman in the hometown. Never look him in the eye while it changes color because you will start to experience bad luck. So his older sister then blotted out, I tired of you wicked people in this house. Why this obiaman here? So he smiled and then he winds up leaving. Before I even continue, first of all, Shan, let's talk. Why would you take that man back? You came out of a comatose zombie-like state. You escaped. You purged. And then you made up with him. And not only did you make up with him, but you still managed to go back to his home. You just popping up at this point to just chill. Now he's not home. He's getting his hair braided, whatever. And what a crazy day that you chose to pop up, because conveniently it's the same day that the craziest, most evilest, eye-changing color obiaman is over there looking for God knows what. And she don't know what's going on, but all she know is that the sister is sick and tired of this, because what is it that y'all people is doing in this house that is bringing this powerful, evil obiaman? So the sister is annoyed. Now she's pissed, and as she's going off, she looks over at Shan, and Shan also catches a stray, because the sister says, and I quote, she then looked at me and said, ain't no one gonna have me stuck in a house like no zombie. Please go home and don't come back. Shan said my mouth dropped to the floor. She ran out the door and sped home. She said after she reached home, she shouted out loud, Lord, if there's anything that's not of you, please take it away from me and out of this house in the name of Jesus. And you would believe that the gold bracelet fly off my wrist and hit the wall so hard, and then I heard it hit the floor. And then tears just start rolling down my face, and I moved the bed and bureau, and the bracelet just disappeared. Nah, this is so spooky, y'all. Please do not watch this one at night. It is 10:41 and I had to stop real quick to do a little prayer because I feel goosebumps. This is so freaking spooky. So the bracelet flies off her wrist and hits the wall, and basically she moves everything, the bureau, the bed, and the bracelet just disappears. So fast forward to 2025. Girl, this still going? She said fast forward to 2025 and now I know what was going on. My ex-boyfriend, his mom and sister had put voodoo on her. His sister had tried to change her life and give herself to God after she told her to leave, but it was just too late. She had already done what she had done. Her hand was already in the jar, so it was done what she had done, and she did regret it. So they both stopped paying the obiaman. His mom and sister had passed away a year apart. The sister died first, and when she had passed, she went skinny like a toothpick, and she was a chunky lady, keep in mind, when she was alive and well. Also, 2 big fur balls came out of her mouth when she died in the hospital. The family took the picture, and everyone in the town said that that only is the work of voodoo. And come to find out, her friend's mom that said to go in the sea in midday, that was talking to her, she was a mambo. So come to find out, that lady that was sending her to the sea and, telling her what to do, she had only helped her because she found out that her ex-boyfriend's aunt had taken her husband from her using voodoo. She literally only helped the girl because, the aunt, whatever, she knew of that family already. So basically, even though it was selfish, she still, pretty much helped her. She said, so pretty much the lady just wanted revenge. So in turn, she sent works back at the ex-boyfriend, mom, and sister, and the gold bracelet came from the obiaman collection, and when the spell is broken, it returns back to sender, which was the obiaman. That's why it disappeared. And she said from there, she was just shocked. So what a coincidence. She goes to her friend because she's like in this zombie-like state. She's just telling her friend what's going on. She was accepting her boyfriend's abuse, everything that her boyfriend did. And then her mom just randomly sees this shadow just following her. And her mom is like, there's something on you, girl. And she's like, you should do this and then stay away from that man. And then that lady herself, little did Shan know that lady herself already knew what the was going on. When she figured out that curse that was put on her daughter's friend was from that family, she said, oh yeah, it's on. Y'all thought it was done? Y'all thought I was done? Your aunt took my man from me. You think this is over? Alright, watch this. Whole time, Shan is cleansing herself in the sea, trying to stay away from the man, but she still had the bracelet on. So it's kind of like no matter what she did, that bracelet was always going to tie her back to that man. So even though, she's doing her cleanses, staying away from the man, she still finds her way back to him. A little to Shan's knowledge that her friend's mom did voodoo on the sister and the mom as revenge. And that's why the sister got really sick and wound up passing away. And so did the mother. Freaking wow. And when the bracelet had disappeared, the Obia man with the color-changing eyes, that is exactly where it went back to. So fast forward, she said she started dating a Haitian after that, and he said that he noticed that she was jumpy a bit and on edge for no reason. He asked her a few questions and said that her ex-boyfriend had her fixed, and a piece of that spirit will always be with her, and that's why she's jumpy. He said that it was voodoo, and the gold hand chain was out of a big box of jewelry the Obia man uses to fix people. See, I always like gold jewelry, especially hand chains, and that's why he caught me slipping. Lesson learned. And that is all that this girl submitted. Like, I have to tell her, like, yo, this story is, like, really good. What the F? Like, wow, that was a spooky one. I don't read many stories that give me goosebumps, but this one definitely gave me a goosebump. And if you swiped out of this video because it's not the usual style of video that I do, then you're missing out on a really, really, really good spooky story, okay? The ones I told earlier were really good too, but this one, I saved it 15 minutes in for the real ones. And if you caught it, I know you listened all the way through and you was invested, okay? Okay, so I have another one that I'm going to read to you guys. And I think this one might be the last story that I will be reading for the night. But y'all, this one is also really, really spooky. So we'll call the person who submitted this Zach. So Zach said, when I was about 10 years old, my auntie shared a Dreamtime story that still scares me at my big age. We were swimming in my pool in my backyard when she told me about a spirit of a man named Riley, and I will not say the full name, but I'll write it on the screen or something. I think he was a white man with a cowboy hat. My auntie told me that even mentioning his name could summon him in the form of an animal or a bug. According to my auntie, Riley would put himself in danger, pretend to be hurt or lost, and wait for someone to come and help him. But if you did, he would just disappear. He would follow you, lurk around your house at night, watching you. Sometimes he'd even take a person's child spirit. That night, after Zach went to bed, he woke up and saw a figure sitting in a chair right in front of his bed. A man in a cowboy hat. It was light enough to see his outline, but too dark to see him properly. He's pretty sure that he was looking at him and not moving. Zach remembers his auntie's warning. If you see him, don't look into his eyes. Just look away. Pretend you didn't see him. Try to go back to sleep. So Zach did exactly that. He closed his eyes and turned his face away and hid under his blanket. He had a really strong feeling of curiosity. Like he was trying really hard not to look. Like it was really tempted to just turn around and look right into his face. The next morning, when Zach woke up, still under his sheets, waiting for his auntie to wake him up because he was still there, surely she can deal with him, LMFAO. but no one came to wake him up. So he eventually worked up the courage to look at the chair, and when he looked at the chair, he saw nothing. There was no sign of the man in the cowboy hat, no trace of him at all. One more. Okay, that last story was really short, so I am going to read maybe one more. Okay. This one is, "Hey girl, I'm a big fan from South Africa. I have a story for you. I'm a 17-year-old female, and the story took place in 2021. So on Christmas of 2020, we were together, and my grandfather, 60-something, male, was very healthy man. He was a very healthy man. He passed away suddenly in January, a couple days after leaving Johannesburg, going to Limpopo, Polokwane. Wow. And my great-grandmother's and his mother's arms. Wow. His death was sudden. The hospital said that his cause of death was COVID. A couple of months went, and my cousin went to Limpopo just to go and visit, saying that she needs some spiritual cleansing. She went to a Sangoma, and the Sangoma revealed that there are people on a huge pine tree that we had in the front yard. That this, to his surprise, because this was surprising to the cousin to hear, because most of the people that are found on that tree were family members and family friends. So I guess that tree had like people tied to it, and like that had some sort of spiritual significance. She didn't explain any further to me. I'm sorry, this is all she said, so I'm just reading. But yeah, she said that so the Sangoma revealed that there are people on the huge pine tree that we had on the front yard. This was surprising because most of the people that are around on this tree were family members and family friends. So what I'm gathering from this story is that the people that were tied to this tree, that were family and friends, they were actually the ones that were doing voodoo on each other. They were the ones that were doing voodoo on the family, which was the actual grandfather, the healthy grandfather's actual cause of death. And because, I guess the cousin had found out, they, returned everything back to cinder. So everything that they had done started backfiring. So whatever they were doing just came right back to them, as some of them passed away, and their last words were them confessing some of the horrible things that they had done to people. Others either have gone mad or mute, and others, their kids got affected by the deeds of their parents. So I guess generational curses does exist. Okay. And y'all, if you're going to submit a spooky story, please submit all of the details, because I don't want to fill in the blanks myself, because then it makes it feels like the story, I'm not being authentic to the story. But like, this story jumped so many places. Like, I'm like, but then what happened? And I know you guys are going to question it, but I don't know. I'm literally just reading, and I'm trying to fill it in as much as possible. Okay, now officially, this will be the last story. Hi, Rebecca. My name is Jen. I live in the UK. Well, this story is coming from Bonte Island, Sierra Leone, West Africa. Growing up in the UK, I didn't know much about life in Africa, where this story is from. This story is my mother's story, not mine. My mother's mother passed away when my mother was only 3 years old, during childbirth. So she had no recollection of her. My mother grew up with her father, who was a very strict police officer slash hunter. A year has now passed, and my mother's 2 older cousins came to live with them from the village. My mother's father traveled to a town nearby for a few days and had to leave my mother with her 2 older cousins. The house which they lived in was like a bungalow. The house had a front door and a back door. While my mother's father was away, my mom and her cousins chose to sleep in the back room. One morning, my mother and her cousins, were woken up to a knock on the back door around 5 a.m. The eldest of the 3 told the 2 younger ones to stay in the room. The eldest cousin, scared and confused, tiptoed towards the door, asking, "Who is it?" Nobody responded. So the cousin went back to bed, thinking she must have heard wrong. Not long after getting in bed, she heard the knock again, but this time it's the front door. The eldest cousin remained on the bed and shouted out, "Who is it?" Once again, no response. At this point, I believe she was afraid. She yelled out, "If they sent you, tell them you never saw me." The door knocks again, but this time a lady called out Poppy, my mom's father's nickname. Hearing the lady's voice made the eldest cousin a little uneasy. She got up and went to open the door to speak to the person at the door to inform them that her uncle was away. But when she got to the door, she was met by a beautiful young dark-skinned lady, dressed in full white and had a small bag as though she was traveling. My mother's cousin greeted her and said, "Good morning, Ma." The lady responded and said, "Good morning. I'm looking for Mr. Charlie, my mother's father's name." My mother's cousin informed the lady that her uncle was away, explaining that he had traveled and that he would be back later that day. The lady said that she can't wait because she has to travel. She then asked the cousin, "Where is his daughter, Helen?" The cousin told the lady that the child is asleep. The lady asked to see the child. She said she came all this way and she would at least like to see the child. All the talking must have woken up my mom, who got up at this point, standing next to her cousin, but a little distant from the door. The lady calls to my mom, stretching her hands out to her, saying with a very soft, airy sadness in her voice, "Helen, my child, it's you. I came for you." My mom said her cousin pushed her away from the door and asked the lady, what should she tell her uncle when he comes back? The lady responded and said, "Tell him that I'll be traveling to start a new life and that he must take care of my child." First of all, the cousin was gangsta, okay? She said, "Take your paws off of my cousin Helen, okay? What is it that you need me to tell my uncle? Because you not coming inside, nor are you taking this kid, period." So the lady then tells him that, she'll be traveling to start a new life and that he must take care of my child. The lady then turns and walks a few steps before disappearing out of thin air. My mother's cousin screams. At the time, the neighbors comes running, asking what happened. The cousin explained that from the back door, she heard the knocking and then went to the front to open it, and then the lady just disappeared. She described the lady to a T, and the neighbors talking between themselves, saying that they could hear the lady, but those who knew, my mother's mother, were unable to get up. Like, their bodies were stiff. It's like they were hearing the commotion outside. They were hearing the talking. However, everybody had sleep paralysis. They asked if the lady had touched my mother, to which the cousin said no. They all sighed of relief, saying that, "Oh, thank God she came for her child." Apparently, if she had touched my mom would have fallen ill and died. Hearing this story, I thought my mom was bullshitting. That is until my mom's cousin came over to the UK from Sierra Leone for a visit, and we were all hanging out telling stories when my mom's cousin started telling me the exact same story, word for word. Listen to me. This week I came with some heat, okay? If you say otherwise, you're lying, okay? Because these submitted stories that I read to you, I chose the best ones, the spookiest ones. It's late. I'm about to drop this story. Hopefully I can upload this by midnight so some of you guys can catch up. Those of y'all who are working overnight shifts, I be thinking about y'all. And like I say in every single video, oh my God, if you stuck through this long, because I know you guys probably want to see me sit down and tell these stories, but it means a lot to me. To those of y'all who stayed through 42 minutes watching me get this lymphatic drainage, I think it's fascinating to watch, okay? I think it's good to watch. Like, you're watching somebody get a massage and you're listening to a spooky story at the same time. I think it's good. But hey, you may not like it. I'm really nervous about this video, as you can tell. But I hope you guys like the video. If you guys are in the New York area, even if you're not in New York and you're planning on visiting, you guys need to check these ladies out. Check out advantagedigio, which I will have everything on the screen. Their Instagram, where you can find them, their address, and all of this. You guys, go check them out. When I tell you I came in there so bloated, like I was on antibiotics, like I mentioned earlier in this video, and they absolutely destroyed my stomach. Okay, I'm being dramatic. Like, I didn't have any stomach problems, but I was retaining a lot of water weight, and it was all in my stomach area. And I'm skinny, so I look like an alien with my stomach poking out. Like, I look pregnant. So when I went over there, they just randomly offered me this massage, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll take it. And literally, as she's massaging me, the video is muted, so y'all can't hear it, but I could literally hear the water literally blah, 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 in my body. I had to pee twice during this massage, and I've been having to use the bathroom pretty frequently ever since. So if you're bloated, You're probably not big, you know, girl. You're probably not that big. You probably just got some extra water weight, or you probably just need some extra support to go to the bathroom. And these lymphatic drains will do exactly that for you. Because when I got up from that table, y'all, I promise you, I noticed a difference instantly. I would not sit there and make a video like this to where I'm recording it on my phone and then having to transfer it and then doing a voiceover if I really truly did not believe in them. These ladies are lovely. They're professional. They are amazing. If you are in the Bronx area, they're located in the Bronx. Even if you're in Brooklyn, it is one straight ride to the Bronx. I get my laser hair removal from them, so my skin is real nice and soft, okay? You can get facials from them. You can get the lymphatic drainage from them, which I just booked my homegirl one. So you better make sure you booking yourself one as well, okay? I will link their Instagram down below. But even if you're not on Instagram, you can pause where I put, their Instagram, and you'll be able to see the address there. And you can even look them up and set an appointment that way. But y'all, I highly, highly, highly recommend this service. And you can absolutely just thank me later, right? Okay, so now, those of y'all who did not follow me on my vlog channel, or those of y'all who did follow me on my vlog channel, I love y'all. All 260 of y'all, I love y'all. But the rest of y'all, why haven't you followed me on my vlog channel? All you have to do is click a link and click subscribe. And then, click your post notifications and then, actually watch the videos. I'm pretty entertaining. I like to think I'm pretty entertaining, even outside of spooky stuff. I have a lot of, interesting things about myself. And I'm putting in the work, I'm trying to, be successful. So, support me, please, by subscribing to my vlog channel. And then, obviously, following me on Instagram, just so that I know that it's real. And, I say that on every single video. And then sometimes, I guess, the more I say it, people are like, oh, my God, fine, shut the up already. I'll just go fucking follow you. And I keep saying it in every video because, I'm putting in work for y'all. And y'all just, please. It's begging at this point. Just go and follow me on Instagram. Please. The link will also be in my description. If you've made it this far, you are a real one. When I say I love you guys, I mean it from the depth of my heart. It's currently 11:11 as I'm shooting this. I love you, my abducted humans. And like I say in every video, from your absolute favorite Haitian homegirl. Good night. Lead with kindness. And don't forget, I did warn you. Do not watch this video at night.